native speakers, non-native speakers, we all do it. When we don't know something, we are honest. We tell, look, give us a minute and I'll reply. Okay. And it's enough when we choose one or two of those phrases that we get into the habit of using.
Everyone, welcome back to Frustrated to Fluent. I'm your host, Devon Bruce. I'm the founder and CEO of the English Communication Academy. We help non-native English speakers in healthcare communicate effectively with their patients, colleagues, and staff. And today I'm speaking with Daniele Ponzo. He is a business English coach with over 13 years in IT and 8 years in language training. He helps tech professionals improve their communication and thrive globally. With leadership experience at Xerox and the Italian Ministry of Education, he blends tech expertise and coaching. He also hosts The Non-Native Leader, which is a podcast sharing stories of global professionals. So, Daniela, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Devon. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, no problem. The reason why that I'm really excited to talk to you is because I love your LinkedIn content and I also love your podcast. It shares stories of non-native English speakers in leadership roles. And so I just wanted to say that out the gate. I love your content and I really like your podcast.
And I appreciate your kind words, Devon. It's actually an honor. So thank you very
Oh, thank
much. And yeah, I love telling stories. It's a bit strange to be on the other side today, but like
you.
it's what I love doing actually. Yeah. So listening to stories, sharing stories, and being part of this virtual community, which is LinkedIn, which is great. I think it's where we meet awesome people, where we can share
Mhm.
ideas. So yeah, absolutely a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So today, what we are talking about is how to overcome those blank moments in real time conversations. And this is near and dear to my heart, is because back when I was an English coach, this is something that people really struggle with. And depending on where someone is in healthcare, it could be a matter of life or death when it comes to communicating effectively. And when English is not their first language, it can cause a lot of stress. And so the fact that we're talking about how to overcome those real time moments is going to be so helpful. So, to just jump into it, I just want to know from your perspective, why do so many non native English speakers go blank in those real time conversations, especially in those high pressure moments like what happens in healthcare?
Yeah, this is common, yeah, and common from my experience and the people I work with now. So because I had to go through the process myself, and so I understand it's common. And I mean, the straight answer is that our brain is running two processes at the same time. So you need to solve a problem, and in the case of healthcare, is a serious problem, but at the same time you're trying to translate in your mind, so you add layers of complexity. And so if you were a native speaker, you would only answer the problem and then boom, go straight to it. You have an extra filter there, right? It happens in IT, and it happens to the professionals I work with, and I imagine it happens a lot in healthcare too, because it's high pressure. In IT, you would say when a server is overloaded. So the
Yeah.
mind is overloaded with translation tasks, with problem tasks. And so you have to process too much, too many requests, too much information, and you go blank basically. Yeah. And that's a serious issue. Now, what you might try to do is, we spoke about a server being overloaded, you want to reduce the load. And one thing you would do in tech would be to automate some of the tasks. Now, can you do the same when you're talking about thinking, like mind translating, speaking a language? You can actually automate some of the stuff through practice, through repetition, through simulating the real situation. So getting used to speaking under pressure.
That's
And
really great
yeah,
to hear. I like the way that you said it can be automated because a lot of people feel like this is something that they can't overcome, or if they've been speaking English for decades and they have to start building that muscle, it's just too much. And so that guilt, that shame, that I can't do it, it causes people to feel stuck for sometimes many, many years. So the fact that you're saying that, yes, this is a big problem, yes, this causes issues, but it can be dealt with, and the way that you said it could be automated is really cool. Now, having said that, what role does self-judgment play when it comes to slowing down real-time responses? And then how can someone start breaking that habit?
yeah, an evil monster, self-judgment. It's crazy. Like, there are in some cases, like we're talking to our friends, to our best friends, and we are really compassionate. We are willing to help. We listen. We are empathetic. Then when it comes to ourselves, we are so hard, like so much harder on ourselves. Like the inner critic is it's an evil beast, really. Sometimes we're there and we have, as you well said, even like many years of experience. We might be, doctors, we might be fluent in English, but still we keep thinking, oh no, I am messing up here. I'm not doing things well. People aren't going to trust me. But the reality is, especially in healthcare, they're not waiting for our grammar mistake to slag us. They want us to be effective. And so in a way I see lots of similarities between the IT world and healthcare, because you have to be effective. So you have like technical vocabulary, you have your specific jargon, for example. And so it's important to be precise and accurate on those words. If you have to say MRI scan, blood pressure, that's important so that you communicate your message well. And then, you have this, to use another IT metaphor, you have this antivirus in your mind, which is the self judgment, which slows everything down, which is
Yeah.
normal. Like, in a way, it wants to protect you from making mistakes, from making a bad display. And so it's there to protect you. But at the same time, it slows everything down. So what I
Yeah.
usually tell people is, take it easy, okay? So allow yourself a grace period, for example, or go through a task and say, okay, I'm going to do this. And you give yourself time, for example. So if you want to do it, you give yourself 2 minutes to complete a task without bothering with the accurate grammar, but just the effectiveness of the message. The added bonus is when you record yourself, the process is more effective, because then you can listen back and say, well, actually, my message is clear. Oh, yeah, I made that mistake. Sure, but, my message is clear. So I can talk about serious things. I can make some mistakes, but people generally will understand me, which is exactly what we need. Effective and clear. Not perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. It's a different story.
Yes, amen. That's the reason why that I'm smiling and I'm nodding. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Because if I could scream this from the rooftops, I would. So many people think that they have to be perfect. And so if they have, let's say, a grammar mistake, or if they say something incorrectly, they think it's just people just don't trust them. And it's like, no, speaking clearly, speaking confidently and effectively is way more important than, let's say, a grammar mistake. People will not care about a grammar mistake if the person that you're talking to feels like they're being heard, they're being seen, and they're being valued. So the fact that
Exactly.
you said that is just like, oh, yes, because that is the name of the game. Yes, yes, yes. And so when like the self judgment comes in and it just slows everything down, it it just gets in the way
Yeah.
of what they're trying to do, which is to help the people that they serve.
Yeah. I mean, when it's pressure, like, okay, sure, healthcare is serious, but like IT, HR, whatever you do, you always end up being under pressure, because if you value what you do, and so you shouldn't let that value undermine your speech just because you're afraid of making mistakes. I mean, the world is full of people making mistakes and then getting their career, in IT, in
Mhm.
tech, business, healthcare. So the important thing is connection, effectiveness, and clarity. So clarity in
Yes.
pronunciation, clarity in the usage of the word choice. That's what really matters. Mistakes, that's
100%.
okay. We're all human after all.
We are. Yes, we are. And I'm really glad that you brought up pressure, because I would say that's one of the biggest things that the people that we work with feel. They feel that weight, that pressure every single day. Now, having said that, how can healthcare professionals balance the pressure for accuracy with the need to respond promptly in interactions, like with a patient or something like that?
Yeah, that's a challenging one, right? Because you want to be precise, you want to be quick, and at the same time you want to be sure what you're saying. So I'd say, like, get straight to the point, right? So if you want to talk, I don't know, about infection, talk about infection, and then you add details. So the risk is we are too direct. That's okay, that's okay. Better being be too direct than going around and around in circles and then never getting to the point. And then once you get your first point straight, you can embellish it, or you can add details around it. So start, for example, infection, this means that, or high blood pressure, so you need to do that. Or I don't know, you have is a condition which means that. And then you add details. So in a way, getting used to talking in these kind of chunks, logical flow, I call it. Yeah. So you have your core points, I call it the bullet points of your, I'm very practical. So I usually have bullet points in front of me whenever I speak. And then, you add details, and you can use these little keywords like so, but, which means to add details. And in a way, you create a mind map. You can start with the real mind map, by the way, and then you incorporate that way of thinking in your mind. So things become easier, I promise. Because you go straight to the point and then you add. Point one, add details. Point two, add details. Point three, add details. This is what I see with my clients. So we usually go back, right? Even with fluent people, we go back to getting to the core of the message. So we create those mind maps where they add their ideas, and we go to the core, and then we start building up again, which is counterintuitive in a way, but it does work to get clarity. And then eventually it works because you incorporate this way of thinking. So when you're under pressure, you always have this idea, okay, point one first and then details, point two and then details. So at the end of the day, it's all about being accurate, right? Accurate and effective. So that's what you want to do. And this is one little tip I would give people. So go back, mind map, one idea, one core idea, and then add details, and maybe add an example, and then keep building. Like, I play a lot with Lego. I have a young kid, so I play a lot with Lego. And you start with with the little colored bricks, and then you add up. That's, in a way, it's a bit of a metaphor there, but in a way, it does work.
Yeah.
I promise.
Yeah, that's a really good idea to do that mind mapping, because you're absolutely right that sometimes people do speak too much, and they just talk in circles instead of getting straight to the point. And so that is how you can be clear and accurate at the same exact time. And you're right, just having like bullets and then just embellishing those key things is the best way to do it. Now, is that how non-native English speakers can prepare themselves mentally before important conversations, so that way they're less likely to freeze? Or is there other things that people can do too?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we, as non-native speakers, that's what we could do. So that's the first thing to do, right? And that's more like a regular practice, I would say. So getting into the habit of explaining things like that surely helps. And I always say like micro targets if you want to get prepared. So give yourself a micro target, give yourself time. Say, for example, I have 2 minutes to describe every object on my room. Of course, you're
Mhm.
never going to achieve every object, but you get into describing an object and explaining its function. And the good thing is that when you don't know the name of the object, that's okay because you describe it and you get into the habit of describing things. And again, it helps when you go blank or when you go under pressure, you don't remember the name of, I don't know, scan or whatever. You can, but you start describing it and then people grasp the meaning. Another thing you could do, you could prepare mentally. So I love, for example, warm ups like athletes. In our case, we need to warm up our voice, our posture, even. So you can do the power pose, like the Wonder Woman pose, 2 minutes before
Yeah.
an important event, just to boost your immune system and your adrenaline, your positive energy, but also speaking like tongue twisters. She sells seashells by the seashore.
Mhm.
She sells C++ software by the seashore. That's what we do at IT.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry.
No, no, it's okay.
you know?
It's near and dear to my heart because back when I had the academy, well, with my business, I've had many different um, you know, levels to it. But when I first started, I was English coach and I had a 10-week program that I had with doctors and they would sign up for my 10-week program. And that was one of the things that we did. We did tongue twisters and it really helps. It
Does,
helps a
yeah.
lot.
I mean, ultimately, there is a reason why actors do that. And actors work with their voice. Sure, they also have a pretty face, and that's a different story. But actors and actresses, they do work with their voice, and they do use tongue twisters. So it does work because at the end of the day, you want to train your voice muscles, but also your face, the way you need to position your lips, because English is different from other languages. And it gives you this sort of
Yeah.
extra
Yeah.
confidence. Okay, you can relax. Yes, I got it. And then you go there with a different state of mind, in a different state of mind at least, which is great.
Awesome. I love it. Um, Now, do you have a simple in the moment technique that someone can use quickly to get back on track when their mind goes blank?
Yeah, that's when you cannot run away, of course,
Right. Yeah, when they're in
which
the
is
moment
most
and
of
then
the
they're
time.
yeah, they have that moment like, "Oh no."
Yeah. So one good thing that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, getting into the habit of explaining things. So explaining an object. Yeah. There's this lovely game that we used to play as kids, Taboo. I don't know if you
Mhm.
know, but it's great because you have to explain something without using the taboo words, right? In a
Mhm.
way, when you go blank, it's similar. It's similar process because you can't recall the word, but you still need to get the message across. So that's one thing. Getting into the habit of explaining things without mentioning the object. And it could be something very simple, like explaining what a glass is. It's an object which contains water. And then you expand, getting more into the technical field of healthcare, whatever. Yeah. So that's one habit that we can develop. Another one would be to finding some stalling expressions, we could call them, some phrases that we can memorize and then we use when we feel we are going blank. Something like, that's a good question. Let me think for a second. We buy some time and that gives us time to think and give an answer. Yeah. Or, I'm not sure. Let me think. Or, excuse me, I'm going to pause for a moment and then I'll reply. It's fine. Just choose one or two, and then we use them as sort of an anchor when we are in trouble. We use that phrase, buy time, and at the same time we reset our mind because it calms down because it's familiar. You always use that one. Let me think for a second. Okay, which is fine. Like everybody does it. Yeah, native speakers, non-native speakers, we all do it when we don't know something. We are honest. We tell, look, give us a minute and I'll reply. Okay. And It's enough when we choose one or two of those phrases that we get into the habit of using, and then we can experiment, Getting back to the micro target, we need to speak for 2 minutes to explain something, and then it's hard to do that. And so we can start using one of these phrases, even if we're talking to ourselves. It's not a problem. Nobody's going to judge, I promise. Close the door, of course, because people may
Yeah.
think you're crazy, but speak up loud and then explain something and use this phrase. Okay, let me think for a minute. Yes, a glass is an object that you use to put water in, and then you can use it for drinking. Yeah. Okay. You start really basic, of course, and then you gradually build up. But yeah, these anchor stalling expressions are useful, I think. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, that's really actionable advice because that's something that we say in the academy as well. If you just acknowledge that, you need some time to think, people respect that. You're not going to sound stupid. You're not going to sound unqualified or not professional. Just simply saying, "That's a good question. I need to think." That's that's how you get back on track. So just the fact that you just reiterate that is just, again, it's just nice to hear the way to do it. Um, Now, finally, what advice would you give to someone who wants to build speed in their responses while still sounding thoughtful and professional? Like, what's one thing that they could just start doing today?
Right. So what happens there when we want to build speed? We often end up with these long filler words, which again are the opposite of sounding professional, like those. Um, this is something we want to avoid. Yeah. So first thing, I would slow down. I would totally slow down. It's again counterintuitive, but you slow down to speed up, and then you start replacing those filler words with better filler words, like let's break this down, or that's an important point. So you don't go like, that's an important point. Let me explain. Okay. So when you incorporate these things, these phrases, these expressions in your language, you are immediately going to sound more professional because you're speaking. You're not using filler words like, yeah, which, make you sound hesitant and at the same time make you lose confidence. You're using the phrases and then you are somehow buying time again, which is something we need to do. And you're not silent, which, create those awkward moments. Yeah. Elevator moments. You don't want those awkward silences there. And so that's what I would do, and then going back to the practice we said earlier, building around one key concept. And then you start gradually incorporate those key phrases like, that's an important point. Let me think. Yes, you're right. We can do that. Or, yes, you have a point. We need an important object. We need the tool the doctor uses to listen to your heart. You know, I can't remember the name now, but that's what we need. You see, I'm saying that I'm not a doctor, so I wouldn't know the technical terms, but I'm saying it without stopping, and that's the sort of practice we can start doing, in my opinion. So explaining using those, we can call them, I don't know, filler words with a twist, or filler words with a college degree. I don't know, but yeah, let's break this down. It's important, so I want to get this right. Okay, you memorize it and then you use it to anchor whatever you need to talk about. I think it is effective. It does work in IT, it does work when people need to speak in meetings, when you need to present in front of a client, for example. So you use those words to go back to calm down and at the same time, avoid those awkward silences or that sort of crazy filler words, which, you know, make you sound hesitant. We don't want that.
Right. Yeah, I could not agree with you more. Um, Now, before I ask where people find you online, I just personally just want to say this was so helpful. It's clear that you are an amazing English coach, and the tech sector, they're lucky to have you. And I genuinely mean that because sometimes what we hear on our end is that I can't be a non-native English speaker and speak clearly. Like some people really feel that. But no, like you are living proof that you can be a non native English speaker. Not only can you speak very clearly, but also explain things clearly as well. And so you're just living testament to that. And the fact that you help others with language development, I just wanted to give you your flowers, as we say, because it's very obvious that you are very good at what you do.
Thanks. Well, I truly appreciate your kind words. Can I where do I subscribe? But yeah, no, you're right. Like this is, I've lived the experience myself, and so I thought, why should others go through the same pain? Like let's stop for a minute and let's see what we can do to ease things for people. Because at the end of the day, tech they it's English everywhere these days, but like other people too. So there is a way we can avoid the pain. So let's try and do it. First, I put myself out there and then lead by example in a way.
Ah, I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, so Daniela, where can people find you online?
Sure. So they can find me mainly on LinkedIn, which is my favorite place for sharing ideas. And my Daniele Ponzo is my name and surname. So you'll find me there. I also have a website, which is new, still work in progress, but it is there and is danieleponzo.com. And then you can find me on YouTube for my podcast mainly, because I do video podcast. The non-native leader is there, Daniele Ponzo. I love keeping things simple.
Awesome. Okay. And those links are in the description box. And if you are a non native English speaker in healthcare and you are tired of having those blanks, please join us. It's a free academy. We have a team of experts standing by. So the link for that is in the description box as well. So, Daniela, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh,
This was amazing,
thank you
jam
very
packed
much.
with actionable tips.
Thank you very much for having me. It was such a pleasure, Devon. I've really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you. And thank you for tuning in. And I will see you next time. Take care.